Hey, everybody, welcome to the After Dark show, political deep dive After Dark. I promise at some point I'm going to give you guys a better intro for that, a little more fitting for After Dark fun that we will be having. So let's bring on our crew members that are present and accounted for. Everyone, please make a warm welcome for our newest crew member. It is Miss Emily Hurley. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for being on. And from Arizona, the Sassmaster General, Tyler Smith. How you doing, sir?
Hi, how are you? Hi, Emily.
Hi, Tyler.
It's a love fest. It's a love fest.
I love Tyler so much.
I love Tyler. Sometimes in inappropriate ways, but that's fine.
It's never inappropriate. It's only inappropriate.
Right. That's how you love Tyler.
That's right.
Inappropriately.
For anybody that's going to slide into my DMs next weekend, that's how you know.
All right, so let's talk. We've got a new administration. We actually had a peaceful transition to power for the most part. We'll skip over January 6th. So, how are you guys feeling?
Livid.
So fast.
Kamala Harris makes me furious. Her track record as a prosecutor and what she has done to innocent families is inexcusable, and it's disgraceful that the first woman to hold that lofty office is someone so horrific.
You know, my wife said the same thing. Like she's happy to have a woman as vice president, but not necessarily her. I mean, it's good to see a female in the office. I don't begrudge people who feel some sense of pride over that. I do.
I do.
Well, I do.
Yeah. I will too, because Pete Buttigieg got named Secretary of Transportation. Everybody's like, "Oh, wow, that's really cool that a position of the power has been given to a GSM individual." I'm like, "No, fuck you. That's still an authoritarian, totalitarian douchebag that barely qualifies as a particular human being. Much less am I wanting to associate with them on some sort of socio-demographic level."
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway,
well, and her having a vagina does not mean that she's qualified or a good person or
it doesn't
a good representative. So why would anyone have pride in someone just because of their genitals?
I don't know, but people do. Obviously, they do. If you happen to hop on Twitter that day, it was nothing but proud that first woman vice president, somebody who looks like me.
Oh yeah,
and I get that. I really do. I just, and you know what? Maybe she has had a come to Jesus moment, and maybe she has turned her opinion about the stuff that she did as a prosecutor around. That remains to be seen. I have not seen anything where they've talked about criminal justice reform. I have not seen anything where they've talked about reforming the drug laws or anything like that. When I start seeing that talk, when I start seeing that action, that's what I'm going to say. You know what? Maybe maybe people can be reformed and redeemed, but at this point, no, I'm not.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm coming in hot on my first day. Like, here are my opinions.
That's what we're here for.
But
if you want to curse, curse, because we curse on the show. So.
Oh, good. I'm totally gonna at some point.
Whatever it is.
Except for Tyler.
I never cuss. I'm a good child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I understand the hope that one can feel that in some roundabout way they're being represented. But my question is, are they really being represented? Are they? Well, and many people probably are. just terrible pieces of shit who will rise to power in any way they can. Because I don't feel represented by Kamala as a woman or as an American. So, and I don't think she has the best interests at heart of anyone but herself.
I mean, that's a common thing with politicians, though. They're self-serving. I mean, good God,
They don't have to be. I'm talking to two who aren't.
they don't have to be, but the ones that are in power are. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Until we make that change. It's in our power.
Oh, yeah,
We just
it
need
is.
to decide to do something about it.
Yes, exactly. Now Biden himself comes out hot. First day. Now, people complain about Donald Trump, and I complained about Donald Trump when he did this in 2016, but he dumped out. Donald Trump in his first 100 days did 22 executive orders. Day one, Joe Biden dropped 17. Now, were there things that Donald Trump did that needed to be set on fire around a ritualistic dance? Absolutely. Absolutely. The Muslim ban, but the problem with government by executive order is that it only requires a change of government for that executive order to be turned back.
Right. This should be a revelation, not a relief.
Yeah.
Like that is exactly what this election should have showed us, and exactly what Biden did on day one of his presidency. Everybody that sat there that praised them in my little friendship circle, because they like to try and get me. Like, we have this little game of back and forth, me and my non-libertarian friends, and I'm going to screenshot every fucking one of them because they're like, oh my God. And then when it gets to the next Republican or whatever party they decide that they're going to like birth, I'm going to remember that when they have their screenshots and they're like, woe was me, and they tear their clothes and put ash on their heads. Like,
so our mutual friend Lori McElwain sent me the Patriot Party has filed for West Virginia. So,
oh, that's fantastic. Have fun imitating the 60s socialist organization, you bunch of morons.
Yeah, I find the ultimate irony of them going with the Patriot Party is that the Patriot Party was once a socialist political party in the United States. That's poetic justice for me, because they're
and they're going to feel real mad because they yeah, they're gonna feel real bad. They allied with the Black Panthers, the Rainbow Coalition, like that. I think they were actually the party that fostered that relationship between those two groups. So that's even greater. I was like, there's no greater irony, or maybe they're doing it to be insulting. I mean, my God, we did have a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, on the anniversary of Black Wall Street Massacre. So, maybe this is like all like on purpose. Like, I don't know.
I know.
They think they're clever, but it's like that thing where you're impressed that a 5-year-old can read more than 2 syllables. Like, okay, that's kind of cool that you get. It's still crap. Well,
I would say the biggest misnomer over the last few years is the idea of a dog whistle. Like, there wasn't a dog whistle over the last few years. There was a foghorn. When you talk about the Juneteenth rally, and you talk about or Charlottesville and all the stuff that happened, the stuff that we went through when we did our thing in Berkeley Springs last year, the Black Lives Matter movement, the responses to that. That's not a dog whistle. That's a foghorn. You're not mistaking that for, only the racists will understand. No, everyone understood that. That was some bullshit.
And so back to the executive orders. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm probably wrong, because I'm about to drop some TV documentary knowledge on you here. But weren't the executive orders as we know them today established during the Civil War by Abraham Lincoln and really meant for wartime?
I think so. I don't know if it was Abraham Lincoln. I know that they weren't an original thing.
No, I know presidents before him had executive orders, but I think as we know it,
yeah,
today.
Yeah, my whole thing is that you're legislating without the legislature. Uh,
Mhm.
you can set policy, and if you're doing an executive order to say that the executive branch is going to be organized this way, I'm not going to have an issue with that. But when you're setting policy, no matter what I thought of the policies that when he got rid of the Muslim ban, I'm fine with that. But the problem is, let's say Donald Trump gets reelected in 2024. Guess what happens? We have a Muslim ban right back. We have all the bullshit that we hated right back.
If he wants, that's the whole thing. What's the difference between a king and a president with executive orders?
Not much.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing he doesn't have is the power of the purse, which as much as Congress capitulates their responsibility when it comes to war, which is where they should be exercising a lot of power, they don't. They've pretty much just handed that to the president, and all the president has to do is trot Lee Greenwood out, and proud to be in America. Let's go fight the damn Muslims and do all that bullshit, and we got ourselves a war without even Congress really giving a crap now. It's completely frustrating. Like the it tells me that the Democrats maybe not didn't learn, they just didn't care. That the lesson we should have taken from the Trump administration was the president is too powerful. The president's powers need to be reined in. And I think it's because they see it and they're like, I want those powers. That looks fun. I can throw
Right.
an executive order out there. I often tell, when we talk about things like Congress saying, we're going to get rid of the filibuster. We're going to, you don't need 66 senators to vote, or 60 senators to vote for, this or that. I, I will warn parties. I'll say, we often create the cudgel with which we're eventually beaten. And
Mhm.
we saw that with a lot of the court stuff, is that they had put these things in place during the Obama administration to streamline things, and now they're getting beaten upside the head with it. And, the Trump got 3 Supreme Court justices through in a 4-year period. Um, I, Congress needs to reassert its power. We needs to rein in the executive before we get somebody worse than Donald Trump. And there's people worse than Donald Trump out there. People don't think that that's true possible, but there are people who are worse.
Now, let me just say what kind of, if we're going to stick with this cudgel metaphor, who's getting beaten by this cudgel? Because I don't see any accountability happening.
Well, it's the party, like when it came to the judicial appointments, where we removed the 60 threshold and went to 50. Um, they got a temporary gain out of that because they were able to force through a few low level judges. But Trump was able to turn around and use that to force through 3 Supreme Court justices. So they got beaten by that. They no longer have a majority in the Supreme Court.
Well, I guess my point is, though, that does it really matter to them if they're all kind of on the same team? They just they may have different titles and they may have slight disagreements, but they're on the same team.
But
And there is absolutely no accountability short of them losing their jobs. And
one thing I wanted to talk about with the Iran stuff, in the 50s, that Shah had instituted 2 parties to give the appearance of democracy in Iran. After the overthrow, he allowed 2 parties, and they were called the Yes and the Yes Sir parties. I mean, the colloquially they were called that, and I think that's what we've got now. We've got a Yes and a Yes Sir party. They fight on the edges about certain things, but when it comes down to brass tacks, when it comes down to like war, when it comes down to spending, when it comes down to how they view the everyday citizen in the United States versus the corporations of the United States, it's the same thing. It's sad.
Very.
Is it sad? I mean, scary, yeah, but is it sad? Like, let's be real here. Like, we witnessed one of the biggest rifts in society, probably. Like, well, at least in American society, all due to nothing more than political discourse, if you can even politely call it that anymore. It's more like a political Thunderdome free for all. But like,
is it the biggest though? I mean,
we've watched entire
1860?
families. Yeah, that's I'm not because I don't want to say yes or no because we don't know where this is going yet. We're still like the 1850s phase right now.
Sure.
I'll understand. Yeah, I understand
Yeah,
that, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's the biggest yet because, and especially since none of us lived through the 60s, those times were pretty wild too. So certainly the biggest within our lifetime.
I can't wait.
Okay, so, well, we'll do it with that. Now, we've watched entire families like dissipate. We've watched friendships end that have been decades long, and like all over who your favorite cult leader is.
Yeah,
which is astounding to me. I studied psychology. This is astounding to me. This is like phenomenon level. Like you've never met the guy. You're not related to him. Did he save you did he donate a kidney? Like what happened here? Why is like all of this now no longer associated with you because of that prick in the White House? Like that, it's not so sad to me to realize that there are people dumb enough to do that because I don't know. This is where I think some of I'm hoping Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest comes through. Like, let the dumb themselves out. Like,
I mean, so just because they're really dumb here, I mean, my family fell prey to it. On my mom's side, otherwise a very close family, very intelligent people. One of my uncles no longer talks to basically anyone. My mom was the Trump supporter and everyone else are Democrats. And my aunt, to quote her, words matter. That's the argument against Trump.
Right, we got a comment from the folks in the audience. Yannick Lewis puts Biden admits that the executive order is a band-aid and what is needed is actual legislation. I hope that he puts that. Puts that. If he does that, then maybe I'll be a little less critical of it. But again, I think there does need to be executive order reform. That this shouldn't be the first go-to of every administration. This shouldn't be the first day of the administration you spend. You should be going to balls and having fun and having an open kegger on the south lawn of the White House. That's what you
which aren't funded by the taxpayers.
Which aren't funded by the taxpayers. I think I can get a collection up if I ever won the presidency. We'd have a collection. We'd have a tip jar at the entrance.
Pay your cover fee just like everyone else.
Yeah.
If I win the presidency, we're all going to Dave and Buster's. Grab the minority whip.
I didn't even go to Dave and Buster's when we were in New Orleans for the convention, and right next to the hotel.
Oh, was it? I didn't even know.
Yeah, there was a Dave and Buster's there in New Orleans, right next to the hotel.
Oh shit! I didn't know.
Yeah. But no, I mean, if we can get some reform on executive orders, rein back, Congress takes a more active role in their responsibilities when it comes to war. I was excited. I won't say excited. I was happy to see Biden say that they're gonna back out of supplying arms for Saudi Arabia for Yemen and providing support to the Yemeni. I mean, on all honesty, that's a genocide there. What's going on there? That's just it's awful. And so if Biden can back off of that, I'm going to give him kudos. If he actually backs up his executive orders with real legislation that abrogates those executive orders, I'll give him credit for that. But it's just starting. We're just, what, 5 days into this thing, so.
Mm-hmm.
5 days in, invading Syria, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that was the concern was, he's talking about putting more troops into Iraq. So, the good
octogenarian asshole can eat my entire ass.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sorry, I absolutely hate Biden. People thought I hated Trump. I actually do hate this piece of shit old fart that's in the in the White House right now. And it's not because I'm age, just because I know people that are his age that have a higher IQ than a pile of dog shit on the South Lawn. I don't mind the fact that he's old. That's fine. If he dies in office, now we've got the petty prosecuting gun. But I'm sorry, I hate this administration just as bad as I did before. And it's frustrating that there's so many sensible people that are like so excited. They're thinking he just walked through the gates of Auschwitz in 1945 and said, "Be free, Jews." Like, he didn't do anything. He hasn't even done anything.
Right.
Like, shut up. You're just, okay, I'm happy Trump's gone too, but I'm still going to sit there and flip off the guy coming in the front door.
Yeah.
Like,
So actually, Yana gives us a new topic to talk about. There's a certain pig farmer in the Philippines. He's been feeding a lot of people a lot of bullshit for a few years. Do you think he's been laughing, or do you think he's actually serious about it?
I don't know this.
Oh no, QAnon. QAnon was traced back to a pig farmer in the Philippines. And his only claim to fame was that he launched a bunch of illegal Japanese porn websites. So he has no real link to anything like any state secrets or anything that would put him in the know of pedophile harvesting adrenochrome for parties and whatever the
like the guy watched Rambo once and decided to go do his own life that way in the Philippines. Like,
I guess so, man. But
trolls are out there.
But that dude had how many people convinced that up until January 20th at noon, people were convinced that all of a sudden, the skies would open and troops would drop down and take over, and Donald Trump would ascend from on high and bless all the QAnon folks and and I know the sad thing is I know people that got taken by this. And
well, I think that's actually just it's so indicative of where our society is at. I mean, just look at all the superhero movies, for example. We need a hero. And the American public is starving for a hero, and so they cling to anything they think might be real, and then it becomes a Philippine farmer.
I saw this meme
at a pizza place in Washington D.C. with a Kalashnikov, and you're like, "Where'd my life go wrong?" Shit.
I saw this meme earlier that actually is like kind of mashing up with what Emily's saying, but it's also kind of true. It's like what America needs, and it had Captain America sitting there with his shield and his battle pose, and it said what it got instead, and had Homelander from The Boys.
great value. Captain America.
Yeah, we didn't even get the name brand Homelander. Like we got the great value.
Yeah. Oh my Lord.
We got. You think Trump's referring to himself as Florida man right now?
I was half expecting him to take off and go to Texas and declare independence. Like go back to the Alamo and say we're free. We're leaving the United States.
Have you actually been to the Alamo? That would have been so amazing if he did. It's tiny.
But I'm president, and Governor Greg Abbott would be like, what?
What you guys talking about? Like going down to Texas, hanging out the Alamo. I have in this head that old '60s movie, Davy Crockett, like that end scene where Donald Trump's just up there swinging like a hamburger or a kofifi at somebody as they like, like
Actually, I think terms like kofifi and hamburger will become like these offices in these new republics. I think, your vice president is kofifi. That's the official title. So speaking of memes, this week we have seen the rise of the Bernie memes. Holy shit! Wow. I mean,
that came out of
Some of them are hysterical.
and they are like the one where he's sitting with the kids in the from the Breakfast Club, or sitting with the kids from Twilight, which was thinking of Bernie as a vampire.
I like the Twitter conversations that happened. Like somebody was talking about like Bernie looking like or shows up to Joe's inauguration looking like this ain't even his whole day.
Yeah.
Captioned it with like, oh, hold on, I gotta pop my Joe's thing for a minute and then I'll get back to work.
No, he had that envelope full of stuff, and I was like, he's going up to Biden. He's like, Mr. President, I have some proposals for you.
Like, and once again, attending another inauguration.
To bless these.
I like the one. Some of them been mean. Like there was the one where he's like, "I'm once again asking you for," or instead it said, "I am once again attending somebody else's inauguration that fucked me over."
Well, somebody did one where he was in an MMA octagon, and he has his arms crossed like this. And he has a dude in like a submission lock, and he's like, "I'm once again asking you to submit,"
Oh yeah.
Someone on Facebook, maybe it was Kim Ruff or someone else, I don't remember at this point, but they made a good point. Like, stop sharing the Bernie memes. We don't care for what he stands for. So, I mean, what are we really sharing? Now, I don't care because I'm just sharing funny memes. Yeah. But it does, I think, for many people beg the question, why are so many libertarians sharing a meme about a socialist and celebrating it?
Yeah, we've got to be careful because it's like it's a desensitization thing as well. Like I think people are thinking that we're forgetting some of his not so desirable stances from a libertarian perspective. Some of the bills he's voted on. Hell, he supported this newly established invasion of Syria that just flew under the radar for all the news outlets, which is weird. Yeah. I think it briefly got mentioned once on CNN.
Yeah.
It's like it's like even the the media and the geopolitical stage in the Middle East is just like, well, that was a nice 4 years off, back to work. Like
Mm-hmm.
So that's another topic we can talk about, the smoldering mess of American media now. We for 4 years CNN's run a breaking news banner because of they just lost their shit on Trump. Trump got under their skin. Jim Acosta, the famous call outs during press conferences, calling them lying media. He got under their skin, and CNN went in. I mean, it's weird watching CNN now. I mean, like they're more about calling out other news media organizations for what they're doing, which is, fine. But then they put that as like a top story on their website. Like, we called out Fox News for spreading this or saying this or, talking positively about the president. That's not a news story. That's just, that's like high school lunch cafeteria. I called out the bully, or I called out the people from the other clique because I didn't agree with them. That, to me, that's just, American media has gone so far downhill that it's not about lying media or fake news or it's about agendas more than anything.
There's a breakdown of journalism because, well, for several reasons, and mostly I would say marketing. So I just looked up and see yes from John Phillips. I don't know that.
There we go.
Yay!
No, he says my. Are you guys hearing me?
Yeah, I think he said it was fixed now.
Okay. Good.
so the news agencies need to both keep their audiences and build their audiences in order to stay in business. And it's evolving away from actual stories and into headlines. And people don't want to spend the time reading a newspaper or a full article. They just get to the facts.
Tell me what I'm supposed to be
There's
mad
a
at.
lot missed when you just get to the facts, or facts as some people call it. So
is what is happening to American news media what happened to MTV? It went from showing music videos, which music television, that was the stated purpose, music television. And now it's a lifestyle channel that shows very few music videos and really just infotainment. And that's what media is now. It's all infotainment. It's not, they'd rather have people screaming at each other. And I think that does feed into the idea that, we're at each other's throats because all we see on TV are Democrat and Republicans at each other's throats.
Who probably went out for a drink after their interview or their debate, or
they're fucking each other's wives or something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It wouldn't surprise me. A lot of politicians, from what I hear, have dirty sides. So, that could be it.
That could be fun. I'm just saying.
No shame in the game.
Have good friendships, despite what you're saying.
They are butt buddies, if you will. Anyway, that was bad. I'm going anyway, but no, yeah, for sure. They end these interviews and they end these chats and debates and everything. God knows they're sitting there guffawing and telling each other jokes or something like that after the interview's done. They don't really. It is purposeful. And you're right, David. It does play into it for sure. It's affected some parts of my family even, and I know several people who. There's this gentleman in Pennsylvania I know who doesn't even talk to his parents anymore because his parents essentially disowned him because he wouldn't support Trump. It's horrible, and this is why. Is it sad that some of these people are that disheveled, heartbroken, or whatever? No, I don't think it's sad at all. Be upset. Your tears are delicious. To quote Nick Sarwark, that is exactly this is the kind of thing I think he was when he said those words, and I think it was in Noah he said them, right? Or when he said
it in Albuquerque.
Yeah. Albuquerque. Okay, so when he said this, I'd like to think this was the passion he was coming from. It's no, I'm not going to feel bad for you. I'm not going to buy into your little fear game either with Biden. I've been warning you since Bush Jr. when I was coherent enough to actually, start formulating my opinions on politics and not partying every weekend. I've tried warning you since then. We need to stop. There's a lot of executive power. You need to chill out. And now that Biden's in power, it's all terror. It's all the sky is falling and everything like that. I was I'm still not going to listen. You can still hinge your feelings on that. Keep crying because I think it's funny. I don't give a shit if you are paranoid and saying you have to. You see some of these QAnon people. I lost my families. I lost my kids. I got fired from my job. Yes, because you were stupid. Well,
I'm sympathetic with you, and we need to use our own minds for sure. But there's a very real predatory nature of our news, and it's. I don't think it's entirely fair to just blame the American public when they don't.
Right. Well, I'm not doing that. I am blaming the individuals that seem to have felt the effects worse off than others because they allowed themselves to go to that level.
Well, neurologically, their lizard brain or the amygdala isn't capable of logic, and that's what's being appealed to, and it's taking over their entire brain. And yes, it's all our individual responsibility to overcome that, to say, wait, I know that this is just hypersensation. I don't need to be freaking out about this. It's our job to do that for ourselves, but we don't all have the ability or the resources or the sounding board even of friends to be like, hey, you don't need to worry about QAnon bombing you, like, or whatever.
A lot of it is that we don't have that, and maybe COVID's factored into it to an extent, but we have really severed our actual physical relationships because of what's been going on. And even before that, with our internet generation, is that we're far less interactive with human beings, which is why our communication styles have devolved so badly. um, because we're okay with tossing epithets and things like that without consequence. And so if you're not getting that in-person feedback when you start dumping out a QAnon conspiracy theory, you're not getting that. You're not actually getting that real-time feedback. You might get a laugh react on Facebook, but that's not the proper feedback. You need to know that people are like talking about.
And it's certainly not going to snap you out of your fear-based mindset.
Yeah.
Oh, do you say, oh, that's kind of creepy. There's a cross in the yard behind me, a Christmas light. Not mine, folks. Just saying. I just saw that in the background. Sorry. Off topic.
Oh, crap. QAnon found you.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
It's real, damn it.
Like, I just said, just see, like a little pig head come up behind him. Like, it's like this dirty farmer and his pig just like slowly rising.
All right, I'll go get my AR.
But yeah, okay. Maybe it does get me worked up, and I think about the people that have cut ties with me within my own realm. The guy I know in Pennsylvania, the other, the specific stories that I've seen are ones that, and maybe that's what's charging me as so headstrong about being like, no, there are definitely individuals that need to hear this. Like, you're dumb. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna coddle you. Like, let's move past this, because let's be real, I did some stupid shit back in college. I'll own up to it. You did some stupid shit for 4 years for
I was a Republican shit.
Mussolini. Like, it's cool. We all make stupid ass mistakes. Granted, yours probably cost me a lot of money, and there's 30 pine nut farmer families that hate your guts, but that's cool. Like, we've all done stupid shit. Like,
Tyler, I love you.
That's so awesome. But
I'm not trying to be rude and mean to these people, but I'm not going to coddle them either, like some people want. And you're right, it is an emotional overhaul, and we have been isolated. And that didn't help at all for those that were already vulnerable to such conditioning. But so yeah, I'll admit it was a little unfair for me to get that mad and just be like, "You're all stupid." Like,
at this point, I think we can. I think we've gotten to the point where you guys have been telling us for a year that this is going to happen and this is going to happen, and none of this stuff happens. JFK didn't come back from the dead to run it as Trump's vice president.
That one I wanted to be true.
Well, that was JFK Jr., not JFK. That would have been hard. Sorry, that was awful.
Back, he's got like a skin graft right here where his hair used to be.
Ooh. Sorry, had the coughs. But they didn't have interventions in the election. They didn't have interventions in the fraud was not identified. The courts didn't intervene. The inauguration happened, and how many times do you have to? Oh, but wait, this is going to happen. Oh, but wait, this is going to happen. At this point, we can start saying, when people start bringing that to us, that it's time for you to grow up and acknowledge that you got took. And you know what? You don't even have to acknowledge that you got took. Just understand that you got took and move on with your life, and not continue to feed this stupidity loop.
Well, and yeah, there has to be at some point. I mean, I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from being frustrated or angry at anyone. I do want us to acknowledge, because there is a very important aspect of outreach and education, of starting from a point of understanding. And if we just go out there and say like, dude, you're fucking stupid, um, we're not going to reach anyone. But if we approach it knowing that these people are scared out of the goddamn minds, we might have a place to start from. Um, and they do need to be held accountable, because they are spending our money via democracy. Pedants, don't at me. Um, but so yeah, be angry. We need to be angry, but I think we need to acknowledge why we're angry first.
No, I'm hopeful that we can get. I'd like to get our message out that is a much more hopeful message that feeds into people's aspirations rather than this fear-based loop that we've been in for so long. I
But
know that
that's part of our problem, is that fear is so much more powerful than hope.
Yeah, it sells, but I mean, it almost you almost think that at this point that it might turn around, that people get so tired of hearing the doom and gloom that a positive message about how do we move forward as a country, allow you to make more decisions in your own life rather than having someone make those decisions for you is exactly what we need. That's and will resonate. There's a lot of things that need to happen for us because of course, the duopoly loves to push us out the door, but uh, you know, I don't know. Maybe this is the impetus. If the Trump Republican Party splits off and they start pushing for electoral reforms because they're gonna come find out all the joys of the stuff that they put in when they were in the Republican Party to harm ballot access. You know, maybe that does open the door for a multi-party democracy.
One could only hope.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've been
Well,
beating around
that's
so cynical about it. Yeah.
well, although like to play into that, I guess, over cynical frame of thought, I have a question that I wanted to pose to you guys. We have two Tylers.
Yeah. Tyler had to rejoin, I guess.
Oh, okay. Um, so I'm seeing I'm seeing a lot of people thinking that, oh, this conflict between Americans is coming to a head. And I disagree. I think there are too many small conflicts that no one can really rally together for it to be big enough for it all to come to a head. So, like, what are you guys seeing? I mean, I'm seeing class war talk. I'm seeing not so much political overhaul
Yeah.
or political revolution talk, but it just class and legislation as far as socialism and
Well, within the activist class, because people that are activists across the board, not the heads of parties or anything like that. I am hearing people saying, this system is broken. We need to figure out how to fix it. Do what needs to happen? So I'm involved in an organization that's we're looking at ranked choice voting. We're looking at other avenues to make it easier for people to register to vote. Whether it's you know in person, absentee. You vote how you want to vote. West Virginia has app voting. You can vote on an app if you're an overseas or disabled West Virginian. That should be expanded to everybody. If you feel comfortable with doing blockchain voting via an app, go for it. That anything to kind of increase the participation, anything to increase the amount of parties that are represented, the amount of voices that are included in politics, I think will only be better rather than just being force fed these two generic voices that are not all that different when it comes down to brass tacks.
Well, I guess I was trying to lead us to a different question, which was, if there was some conflict between the people, what do you think it's going to be about?
It's going to be, to me, if the boog starts, it's going to be a complete breakdown of society, and it'll be like Somalia. I mean, honestly, it'll be Somalia. It'll be small local warlords.
You think so? You think we're that far along?
I don't think we're that far along. No, I don't think that we're that close to the boogaloo. I think that there are people that wanted it to happen. I think it would have been fairly quickly dispatched if they had done something on January 20th or in the intermediate between the 6th and the 20th. But if it does get down to that point, yeah, there isn't like a single rallying point. Yeah, people love Trump in his camp; they love him, but within that camp, there's fractures. Within the Democrats, there's fractures. Within the Libertarians, there's fractures. Within every group, there's fractures that when it comes to a breakdown of society like that, you're going to take your loyal followers and form off your own little group and fight for whatever you can get.
I'm worried we're going to see a repeat of the Russian Revolution, only in America.
So,
but I think we're.
If you guys ever seen,
I'm sorry, what?
I apologize. Have you guys ever seen that movie, What Happened to Monday?
Mm-mm.
Premise of the entire movie: the society's at a point where they're doing like population control and things like that, and this guy had septuplets, I think, and he named them each a day of the week, based on what day they could go out and engage in society and stuff like that. Like he kept hidden. He had more than
yeah, I've heard of that.
And Monday disappears. So that the whole point of the movie is like find out, but like that kind of like weird. We're still like technologically advanced. We still got like our houses, like everything like that. But it's weirdly dystopian. Like you have to register things wherever you go. I mean, they're already trying to do it with this vaccination paperwork and everything like that. Which, if I were to ever go on like the anti-COVID vax rant, that is where I'm attacking it, because that seems less about. To me, it seems less about accountability of the virus and like everything like that. More like it's a tab. It's meant to see how easily can we keep tabs on everybody.
Yeah.
Like, that it's an experiment. I'm like the paper, like the vaccine license, as I've seen it called. Like I think that's an experiment they're trying out right now. I think it's like it's that, but that movie. Reason I brought it up, it's that kind of society is what I envision will happen before any type of like boogaloo or civil war or revolution or insurrection. So I foresee a very much majority of the U.S. Just being subjugated to this societal conditioning that this is just the way things are. At least we're not like whatever boogeyman we have for that decade. Like we went from communists to the Chinese to Muslims to Mexicans to we've always got a boogeyman somewhere. Whatever that boogeyman's going to be in that, at least we're not as bad off as I don't know Russia at that point. Like like that's not the justification you think it is. Like I understand we're not as bad as Russia. It doesn't mean we can't have a hell of a lot better life. Like that's kind of where I see it. I guess that's what is also making it frustrating, because it's like that makes it easier to target people like who's on this podcast right now, like John, who said hi to us on the YouTube. It's anybody that has any audacity to just sit there and say, I think I got a better idea and it doesn't involve government. Or I got a better idea and it doesn't involve me having to come together with a collective group. That is dangerous. It puts the targets on our backs now. and we saw John Brennan on CNN very, very, very like casually just lump libertarians in with all these like, you know, ne'er-do-wells that he was listing off of as to who the CIA and FBI is investigating. Like,
You know,
I am so dangerous.
well, the interesting thing, this is the irony of the whole thing, is that you know, John Brennan, who's probably responsible for the deaths of thousands of people, uh, calls a political party that signs a non-aggression principle when joining, you know, a terrorist organization. Like, are you listening to the bullshit you're speaking? I mean, is there a serious cognitive dissonance that, you know, you think what you are doing is pure and holy and has not terrorized millions of people for decades?
Don't for one second think that he thinks he's speaking the truth. He knows what he's doing, and it's all about suppressing the opposition voices.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's, you know, we all, rightly so, you know, pulled out and said, "Yo, ho, wait, what are you throwing libertarians in here with?" You know, Spike Cohen sent out his meme and said, "Well, at least the CIA will start funneling us money and weapons."
He got fact checked on that. Did you see that?
Well, I shared it. I shared that thing, and sure enough, at the bottom, it's like, "This is partially true or partially false" or something like that. I'm like, "Come on, really?"
now wait a second. They did say they at least they admitted it's only partially untrue because he hasn't started funding us yet. So like,
True.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'd love, you know, send us some money.
I'd take some money. Yeah.
I do want the Toyota with the Browning M2 mounted on top. That's for DC traffic. That's what I need it for. Get the fuck out of my way.
By the way, since Tyler mentioned John, John Phillips is running for city council in Decatur, Illinois. So if you are into supporting local candidates, David, can I do this?
Yeah. What's his website?
Oh, shit, John, what's your website? I don't know. I already donated a while ago, so I don't know.
I do too.
I think it's JPJR for Liberty or something. That's his email. This is terrible. Sorry, John. Tried to give you a shout out. Nope, that's not it. I'll get back to you on that.
I was gonna put up a banner on the bottom for.
I'll get back to you on that.
All right. So, okay. So yeah, Brennan, fuck off. I mean, oh, there's John Phillips for Liberty.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Pop that in. There we go.
look, now I've got him looking over my shoulder over here.
Nice.
Oh. He's always your shoulder.
When you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. But
we already have a Liberty Clause. Thank you.
We do. But, you know, Liberty NSA.
No,
that's such a perverse concept.
Yes. I'll take with that idea.
There he goes. He dropped it into the Facebook chat as well. So,
all right. Thank you.
But yeah, I did give it to John. We don't have a whole lot of races in 21. I know Virginia's got a governor's race. I know New Jersey's got a governor's race. I hated living in Virginia because like every year was like a major election year. Like you just didn't get a break. And you know, if you're Democrats and Republicans, you got like a crap ton of volunteers. It's not as big of an issue. But when you're a libertarian and you know every year you're ramping up for some election, or you know, worse off in Virginia is that you had to do ballot access signatures, and 10,000 for a statewide race, 200 per congressional district. It's a pain in the ass. It saps you of all your energy because you just always in campaign, man, always in campaign mode. But
And campaigns are hard. I mean, for people who haven't done them,
yeah,
they're hard.
they're a pain in the ass.
I broke myself running my last campaign, so yeah. I'm still recovering from that shit.
So Emily was the campaign chair for Kim Ruff, right?
Yeah, I was the campaign director for both Kim
Amazing.
Ruff and John Phillips.
And John Phillips.
Yeah, at the same time while working a 48-hour work week. Yeah, it was hard. But Tyler and other people on my team made it much easier.
Tyler's awesome.
Thank you, Tyler.
I think
That
Tyler's
was amazing.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, you guys like kept breaking in and out. I didn't catch any of that. So
we were talking about.
We just said that
up.
you're a terrible person and you should be ashamed of yourself.
It's John Brennan. He's
Ha!
disruptive.
Joke's on you. I've been doing that for years.
Nice. Let's see what else happened this week. Man, I got nothing.
Oh, so hey, here's something then. How close do you guys think we are to economic collapse?
I don't know. They're just going to keep printing money.
Well, exactly. And it's gotta be a problem sometime. Inflation is real.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta, I mean, we're all going to be millionaires. So that's
I have a like a $100 trillion note from Zimbabwe somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm a 100 trillionaire. Thank you very much.
I've actually got several overstamps from Germany, Weimar Republic, Germany. That was like 2, 3, 10 trillion or $10 million stamps, because it was just they didn't do anything except for just plop it on top of the stamp because they couldn't print stamps fast enough to reflect the new value of the money. But yeah, I've got several quite valuable stamps. At least monetary.
Valuable now. They weren't valuable then.
Yeah, face value. But they're not German marks anymore. Damn it.
I got a few bank bundles from the former Yugoslavia, and they have like Nikola Tesla on like their 10 million dinar note. They have like a little Bosnian girl on their 50 trillion dinar banknote. Like in stacks of these. I tried to do some math based on like what the exchange rate would have been back then. Less than $1.20, I think, was what each of those notes were worth. Like,
yeah.
And so now they're worth whatever you pay for them. Really, like my $100 trillion is worth $5 because that's what I bought it for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
hell
it's amazing. I don't know that. I don't know how long it's going to take for all this, what we've done the last 2 years, to catch up with us. But boy, I don't know what to do when it does.
Well, you don't do anything then. You got to start doing stuff now. Not to be one of those crazy preppers, but like make sure that you have what you need for when you can't get it.
I'm investing in sausage.
How many pigs do you have?
Are you Q?
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I that's why I wasn't as active lately, but No.
I'll get up or I'll get home from work and I'll see that you're still online at like 3 a.m. over here. So I'm like, what's he doing? And then then all of a sudden the cat.
Sausage.
Yeah, he's hoarding sausage.
3 in the morning. 3 in the morning for you is 6 in the morning, which is I'm starting work.
Oh, okay.
That's not nearly as fun as hoarding sausage.
No, it's not as fun as hoarding sausage.
Really?
Hoarding sausage is some kind of euphemism for something else.
Yeah, I like the hoard sausage too.
Yeah. Yannick Lewis said, does gold make a comeback? I mean, it's going to go up in value, of course. I mean, really anything that you can actually hold is going that has intrinsic value will. Um, I
Salt.
just don't know that salt.
Yeah, buy cheap shit. Like because when
That
you
makes sense.
don't have it, like you need salt on food. So
Yeah, exactly. You don't have
it'd
refrigeration.
be a
You can salt
tradable
your meat.
commodity.
Yeah, you salt your meat if you don't have refrigeration. That's another euphemism. There we go. Yeah. That's why it's called after dark.
My
So
God.
This is the point where I'm just gonna start talking about meat and sausage.
you know,
Welcome to the
and
political
maybe
deep dive. Also, here's source for meat buying market needs.
the deep dive.
Deep diving with meat.
That's right. Um, I've never trusted the idea of the cryptocurrency. Almost as fiat is what we've got. I mean, like and I get that there's blockchain and all that stuff, and it kind of makes my eyes glaze over when people start talking about it. But I always look at it. I'm like, well, what's backing that up?
Well, what's backing fiat currency
No, what's
up?
backing fiat currency? But
Yep.
if fiat currency goes in the shitter, what are what's to say? I mean, I know that people that have invested in Bitcoin at 10,000 and see it go down to 2, and it's just as volatile.
So yeah, just buy a little bit of it and get gold and silver.
Yeah, and oil.
I'm also going back to the bartering system.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like that, like it sounds facetious. It sounds a little bit nihilistic, according to a few people I know. But it's like, no, I mean, if you can't barter, anything, like I can barter, a skill set. It doesn't even have to be an object. Like I'll do this for you if you do that for me. Da, da, da. Like it's not. And it's so weird to me that seems like such a shocking and radical concept to a lot of people. I was like, we literally did it for tens of thousands of years. Like,
it's actually fairly recent that we haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like even like in West Virginia, of all places, like you can still find places in that state there. That's kind of just that's the modus operandi of that town. Like,
yeah.
Like I grew up in Princeton, and that was like essentially how my dad did stuff with his friends or his neighbors and stuff like that. My dad was a skilled construction worker. He'd do work for them. If they couldn't give him money, they'd offer a service in return or something like that. Not to put anything on blast, but I do have a family member that barters their rent with stealing moonshine for the property owner. It's definitely there, and I think it often gets associated with poverty and things like that. But no, it's kind of like a normal human function to do things like that. Like it's not any type of like certain class can't do it. Like that's what I think that's what our default is as far as value should be concerned.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason why it's fallen especially out of vogue over the past, I would say 60 years, or probably a little bit more than that, is the breakdown of, well, I don't want to say breakdown. The people are moving. They're far more mobile than they were 100 years ago. Yeah. And families aren't living together. Neighbors aren't living together for their whole lives. And so it's hard to trust someone to barter with you if you don't know them. It's so much easier to be like, yeah, I trust him to do what he says he's going to do because he has a good track record of doing it. Exactly. And that goes back to the credit score, but that how that's working out. And, normal everyday people don't necessarily have access to that. Or even to know what it means and what it means to them. So to use it. So I think it makes sense that it's broken down as a means of trade. lack of a better word right now, but
It makes
and there's no reason we
it
can't
does.
have it. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just finishing up saying like there's no reason that we can't get back to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Other than
That was what,
yeah,
like, it is.
more creative
It's definitely
ways.
broken down, and that's a big part of it. Like, there's mass exoduses of certain states that are happening now, and influxes in others, and that comes with all kinds of nuances as far as, like, the trust factor in your fellow human being. But it's like, I guess it's my weird. But the reason I find it weird that people that concept is so unheard of, or like shocking to some people, is it wasn't that long ago that we were doing that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll tell somebody, like, I think we should go back to bartering. And they'll be like, okay, Mad Max. I was like, why does it have to be like that? Like,
People always assume the worst aspects of something, like, why always is that default to go to, you know, especially for us, when we talk about libertarian principles, people will always throw out, well, why don't you move to Somalia? Or why, you want kids to die? They're always throwing out the worst possible thing that can happen. And in human nature, yes, there are things in human nature that you have to be wary of, but also with the human nature that we do tend to rally around the vulnerable, and we do provide services, and when people are in need, we're stepping up. Um, we're far more
Well, and
responsible to
actually,
government.
yeah, to play off of that is I was having a debate with one of my Democrat cousins about taxation, and I was trying to explain to him the immoral um, nature of taxation, and he's saying, well, we have to care about our fellow man, and I said, well, yeah, we do. We don't have to have a middleman to do it. And he said, well, if not the middleman, then who? And then I said, well, you know what? You're talking about it right now. You care. I'm
Mhm.
talking about it. I care. We will still care with or without a middleman. Although I'm going to be able to care more effectively without the middleman, taking a big chunk of it and spending it on a $1,200 coffee mug. You
Or
know,
bombing some kids in Afghanistan, or
exactly.
using
Killing
for things
innocent
that
people with my money, thanks, no thanks.
do you want
Um,
to help people with your money, or do you want that money to go and do things that, like bombing, or fattening the pockets of some CEO because they know how to lobby? They bought off enough politicians to get that money back. Or do you want it to do effective things in your local community? That's what we need to be talking about, is that our solution is get local, get active, help your fellow citizen. uh, you know that's how we move forward. Not, oh, we'll let the government take care of it, because the government has proven time and time again they're going to prioritize bombing the shit out of somebody in Yemen, bombing the shit out of somebody in Afghanistan. you know people keeping people in federal prisons for nonviolent drug crimes. That's the shit right there. That's
mhm.
And when you talk to people like that and say, you're putting your money in the federal government has no concept of who you are. They don't. They don't know what your hopes and dreams are. They don't know what your cares are. They don't know that you are passionate about serving your community. They just, you know, it doesn't matter what you believe. It's going to go to what the lobbyists are going to dictate where that money goes to.
Well, and if you are caring, someone else is caring too.
Mhm.
And so we don't
By the
have
way,
to force charity from other people. We don't have to. I think the majority of people are going to do what they can. It isn't going to necessarily be as much as they currently are at the end of a gun, but some people will give more. Some people will
well,
give less or give differently.
I mean, when you break down the federal government, federal budget, and what you put into the federal budget, your donation to federal welfare programs is a minuscule part of that money that you're dumping into the federal government.
Mhm.
If you give more than $150 to charity, you're actually doing better than what you're sending to the federal government to help your fellow citizens. And that's a concept people don't understand. They just think that everything goes off and helps. And oh yeah, we do have the military, but this is the price I pay for a civilized society. But when you see what the government does with that money, when it cages people, when it bombs people, when it when it executes people, that's not a civilized society. We would
Oh,
be
but don't tell them that.
we'd be far more civilized if we are, you know, taking that money, using it ourselves, using it to in our communities, giving it to the people that are truly just out of it in our communities, than sending it to the federal government. 100 times out of 100.
Mhm.
Well, I think I am done for the evening because I've been talking a long time.
I'm tired. Yeah.
I'm tired.
So bad.
Yeah. So next week, ladies and gentlemen, we will be doing the second half of Iran from the revolution to current day. We'll be talking about the JCPOA and some of the things that really we've been talking a lot in the first half of the show, that we talked a lot about Iran, uh, stuff that we did to Iran. As we move past the Iranian Revolution, now we're going to start talking about the stuff that Iran does to us. No one's innocent in this whole relationship. It's there's a lot of give and take that's been going on in this relationship, but um, we'll talk about the incoming Biden administration. There's some concerning stuff. The people that he's getting advice from are, what do you call Democratic neocons? Is there a good term for them?
Moderate liberals.
I guess. But anyway, yeah, he's getting advice for some bad people that are going to continue to foment distrust between. And yeah, we do need to build trust with Iran, but I think that they are more interested in keeping that relation sour than actually doing something productive with it. So next week we'll be talking about that, and then we'll have the After Dark program. I promise next week we will have a new theme for the After Dark program that's much more appropriate for After Darkness. So thank you everyone for
I
joining.
still want to go kidnap a cocaine hippo from Colombia.
Yes. Oh no, cocaine hippos are. That's going to be my death yacht rock band name. Yeah. Cocaine hippos. But anyway, thank you everyone for joining. If you joined us on Twitter, if you joined us on YouTube, click a like, click the subscribe, and click the little bell. They'll give you a reminder whenever I'm broadcasting, and so you can catch each of my shows on Facebook. Give it a like. I really appreciate everyone joining us tonight, and we will talk to you next week.